To another video, Purple Political Talk here, and today we're going to be talking about the 2020 Democratic National Convention that was held last week in Milwaukee, and essentially virtually throughout the nation. We saw many Democratic speakers go through and give out their messages and their support for Joe Biden in this year's 2020 Democratic National Convention. Joe Biden was officially nominated for president. A lot of speeches were made. The Democratic Party decided its platform, and all of these other things, which we're going to talk about in this video, that will be reviewing and recapping the 2020 Democratic National Convention. So, to understand something at first, this convention was very different from many in the past, as it was the first convention of any major political party to be held fully online for the most part, or for the big majority of the part. Essentially, all the speakers delivered speeches from their home bases, and you had the certain delegations, especially, for example, the Wisconsin delegation, they spoke in the convention center where they were supposed to meet. So, this was one of the virtual conventions, and it's very difficult to bring up the same support that they had perhaps in another convention like 2016. So, did voter enthusiasm go extremely up because of this convention? No. However, I mean, that could be said because it's virtual campaigning. It's going to be seen during the virtual campaign that it's not going to be the same exact thing. So, when we're looking at this convention, what are some of the Democrats' goals? One, they're trying to unite the party and essentially the country to try to win the presidency as a whole and beat Donald Trump in November. We're not going to get into that in this video. We're just going to talk about the convention and how it went, what things could have gone better, who gave the best speech, and who actually overperformed expectations, all of that in this video. So, again, the Democrats are trying to fly their flag high and show that they're the victors in the presidential election. And picking Joe Biden, I mean, was one of the better picks, I would say, for them. And many of the things that followed are going to bring a lot of momentum for them and essentially bring up fundraising numbers and building up poll numbers is another very important thing for the Democrats. That shows them they have a lead, and that also shows them that they have nice amounts of money to not only use at the presidential level, but also the senatorial, congressional, and local level. So all these things are one of the biggest takeaways we can get from the National Convention. So I wanted to talk about the speech that I thought was the most outstanding, and that is Dr. Jill Biden, so Joe Biden's wife. I think she gave a very compelling speech. One of the better ones I saw during the convention. She was able to relate with the American voter, and although if her speech wasn't that political in the way that she wasn't frustrated, she was a little bit more calm in the way that she presented herself. I really like that. Unlike some other speeches, like maybe Kamala Harris's, Kamala Harris was a lot more passionate and screaming at sorts of times. So I think Jill Biden did a great job at connecting with the American voter, as well as going through and being able to do that in a calm manner. I think that made her connect with many American voters all across the nation. So this is going to be very important to see in the future, as Dr. Jill Biden could become a very big speaker for the Democrats all around the country. Now, when it came to Joe Biden's speech, I found it very, very compelling, and I think that it was a very good speech, a very good performance on Joe Biden's standpoint. He was able to give the speech in a way that he was able to connect with the American voter, show his frustration, and push the two biggest things that he had during this convention, the biggest thing they pushed during the convention, which were the COVID-19 and Donald Trump, kind of the bad movement against him. All of that we saw in Joe Biden's speech, and he gave a very compelling speech. He showed his leadership. Very impressed with Joe Biden's speech. There's many more speeches, and we're going to discuss this soon. When it comes to appealing to voters, the Democratic National Convention, I think they did a star job as they were to blame COVID-19 and other things towards the president. However, I mean, there's some voters that are somewhat conflicted because they kind of find it somewhat hypocritical in the sense that they're kind of selling a message of unite the country when they're just doing that. So that's one thing we could all know from this convention. However, I mean, overall, I would say the Democrats did very good at appealing to their voters. I want to talk about some of my favorite moments during the convention, including speeches, segments, and interviews. So we saw a lot of interviews. I really liked the interview with the teenager that was a stutterer. I think that shows how the Democratic Party cares about the younger generation, and I think that shows how Joe Biden is a role model for many. That was a very sweet moment. I would also say that one of my favorite moments was the kind of why everyone ran segment. So they ran a segment where all the 2020 presidential candidates on the Democratic side, they went through and said why they run, and I really enjoyed that. And honestly, that's one of my favorite speeches. And when it comes to speeches, Michelle Obama's speech, very, very, very compelling, and that's one of the most politically heavy speeches we've seen Michelle Obama give. So very, 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 very interesting on her part. And I also enjoyed Tammy Baldwin's speech. She had a very compelling speech. She was able to speak in a manner where she could convince voters and things like that. So I think, honestly, that was a very good speech on part by Tammy Baldwin. Where do I think they could improve? I think they should be solidifying a message. They either run the campaign on full COVID-19, Trump's done very bad, or they run on Donald Trump is just a bad leader. So those things are somewhat loosely related, and they just ran two different campaigns. The first 2 days were pretty much based on Donald Trump is the worst person in the world. The next 2 days was more based on COVID-19 and how Joe Biden and other Democrats are leaders. If they would have focused on just one message, I think a lot of people wouldn't have seen it as somewhat hypocritical, because I would say that Democrats are preaching unity when in reality they're just adding to the division, which I think is not good. However, that's like one of the things I think they should improve on. And for the most part, I think the speeches were pretty good. I would say, honestly, just to be fair with the party and how it's being shaped, give more time to speak to more progressive candidates, as they're becoming a larger and larger portion of the Democratic electorate today. So that's one of the biggest places I think the Democrats could improve with this convention. Overall, very, very satisfied with how the convention went, how the speeches went, how Joe Biden and his campaign were able to pull this off, and how organized the virtual convention was able to be. Overall, I mean, there's very small things they should work on, especially I would say when it comes to theme, and some speakers, they had not that great speeches. I would like, for example, I liked Michelle Obama's speech, but there's some moments that facts needed to be checked. Other than that, very good convention and part of the Democrats. So guys, I want to thank all of you for watching, and yeah, so I'm going to do a video about this on the 2020 Republican National Convention next week, when we have all the convention. We're going to talk about speakers, what it went. Similar to this video, this is our viewing recap of the Democratic National Convention in the city of Milwaukee and virtually nationwide. There's many other things I did not mention, like the roll call was pretty interesting. All these different things impacted the election. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. So please give it a huge thumbs up, like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to get notified when I post my next video. Hope you enjoyed the video, and goodbye.